Today, I want to talk about why Josh Sweat actually could hit free agency. With some of the Bears' top targets being re signed or franchise tagged, I want to talk about why my top ranked pass rusher on this year's open market could actually hit free agency. Look, Howie Roseman has done an awesome job building the trenches in Philly, but he's also not been perfect. And the Eagles' cap situation is nowhere near as fluid as Chicago's. In recent years, they have shown that they will let star players walk and that they're also very capable of replacing them, especially on the defensive line. Recently, they traded Hassan Reddick and they let Javon Hargrave walk in free agency. They also lost Fletcher Cox to retirement, but you wouldn't notice if you watched them because they still had the best D line in the Super Bowl. But on top of that, the Eagles also made another mistake last season, one that you probably haven't heard many people talk about. They signed a guy that most people consider to be Josh Sweat's replacement last year in free agency. The Eagles gave Bryce Huff a 3-year, $51 million contract, cashing in on a big deal after recording 10 sacks with the Jets in 2023. But Huff was mostly a non factor after signing the big deal. He had just 2.5 sacks all season long, the same amount that Josh Sweat had in the Super Bowl alone. But the Eagles are currently stuck with that contract and have to pay him nearly 17 million guaranteed this year. They cannot get out of his contract until next season. And they have a ton of other players on this D line as well. Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis just on the D line. And with Huff's contract locked in, the Eagles could look to let Huff step into the spot that Josh Sweat played last season and take advantage of the D line talent in the draft as well. We all know that Howie Roseman loves to draft the trenches. All of these signs point towards maybe, just maybe, the Eagles let Josh Sweat hit free agency when most people think there is no chance they let him walk. But I think most people also forgot that the Eagles just spent 51 million on Bryce Huff. But this could also depend on whether or not Brandon Graham retires. And the Eagles also have two more high-profile free agents. On the offensive line, they have guard Mekhi Becton and they have defensive tackle Milton Williams, who also had 2 sacks in the Super Bowl and is a very underrated interior pass rusher, which is another point here. If Josh Sweat did get resigned, Milton Williams would be an awesome pivot option as he is another guy who got a ton of pressure this season and he's only 25 years old. The Eagles currently have around 19 million in cap space, but they also have other extensions coming up to consider as well. It's never certain that any team is going to let a talented player hit free agency, and if I was the Eagles, I'd probably be trying to work out an extension with Josh Sweat. But until that gets done, I believe there's a real chance this guy is going to hit the open market. And in that situation, it's something the Bears should definitely be interested in. Judging from just the Super Bowl alone, Sweat was clearly a bigger factor than Trey Smith was, but we know Smith is no longer an option. But if Josh Sweat or even Falcons center Drew Dahlman hit free agency, then Ryan Poles needs to waste no time getting a hold of him. And I have a couple more videos on the way spotlighting some sleeper players the Bears could be targeting. Please stay tuned for that. Remember to hit the like button for me. And until next time, bear down.